Welcome to the 30th episode of Speaking of Poetry. I am Rennie McQuilkin, publisher of Antrim House Books, whose authors are featured in this series. Today I am delighted to be joined by Jonathan Gillman. He is the head of the theater department at the Greater Hartford Academy of the Arts, a public magnet high school of terrific renown. It's a wonderful place. And is also the director of Looking in Theater, a teen interactive social issue theater group. In addition to poetry, he writes fiction, nonfiction, plays, and children's stories. We are indeed fortunate to have him with us today to read from his new poetry collection, My Father Humming. The book was recently selected by Kirkus Reviews to be one of the 5 outstanding poetry collections produced by an independent press, and was chosen as runner-up for the Patterson Poetry Prize, second only to Billy Collins. The book reads almost like a novel. It's full of beauty and sorrow at the gradual sinking of Jonathan's brilliant father into dementia. You will not be the same after you have heard the poems you are about to experience. Welcome to Speaking of Poetry, Jonathan Gillman.
Thank you, Rennie, and thank you for having me here. I'm very happy to be here. My father was a classically trained pianist. He had a certificate from Juilliard. He was also a nationally known mathematician. He had a brilliant mind. And by the time he died a few years ago with Alzheimer's, little remained of the person he had been. I started writing these poems mostly to try to figure out what was going on. Was the same person still there as he declined, or was he simply, and we couldn't get access to him, or was he not there at all? Toward the end, language had sort of failed him. He wasn't talking much, but as you'll see in some of the poems, touch was really important, and even more important than that was music, because he'd been known the music all his life. And in the title poem, and it's a key poem to the collection, when he hums along with my playing, he was making music, he was making art. So even if it looked like there was no one there, there still was. Later, when I started reading these in public, I was surprised at the response of people that what I thought was my story, my mother's story, my father's story, was the story of a lot of other people. So what I hope is that this book is something that will touch and resonate with a lot of different people. And this is My Father Humming. A house with music in it. You step into the house and hear the music. Stop, breath held. Push the door shut behind you. Lower the groceries to the floor, hoping the bag won't crinkle. And stand, eyes shut, taken so far from sounds of the world outside, as if it doesn't exist. There is only in the other room, piano, player, and the music, passing through your pores, penetrating your heart, lodging there so deep, it's hard to imagine a time it wasn't there. Or there might come another when you walk into nothing, his hands not on the keys, no magic in his fingers. Vibration of the twisted strands of metal, gone. The silence emptier for what it used to hold. This book is in 3 parts. The first part is fairly short. It's about my father and me, just sort of in general. The longer middle section, which is most of the book, is about his decline, and then the final section is after he's dead. So these first couple ones are from the beginning, the first part. My Father Humming. I don't know how you felt when you played, head bent as if inside the notes. I do know you used to hum, accompanying yourself, maybe not aware. One couldn't tell from listening to you drone what piece it was, all tuneless and the same, immersed so far, like what they say about the drowned, becoming one with water. A house with music in it, 2. I'm 12, coming home with friends, bounding up onto the porch in the Indiana summer afternoon. Crickets and cicadas making a loud whirring with their wings. Sweat sticking to forehead, shirt, and neck. Baseball glove under my arm. I stop when I hear the piano from inside, turn toward my friends, shake my head, pull open the door, shut it behind me without a click, step into the cool dark of the house, my father at the piano straight ahead, humming as he plays. Every now and then a damn it as he misses a note. He doesn't pause, doesn't look up, doesn't change his rhythm as I tiptoe through, past the table covered with his important work, the air conditioner behind it, humming its own tune. I climb the stairs, trying to avoid the ones that creak. The music, something of Beethoven, loud and passionate, follows me down the hall to the door of my room. I step inside, shut it out, open the windows, toss my mitt aside, turn on the radio, smile a little at Chuck Berry singing, "Roll over, Beethoven," flop down on the bed, pull out my toy baseball game, and go on being 12 in nowhere, Indiana, on a sticky summer afternoon. These next ones are all from the second section. Killing time. 6 months after yowling, I was trying to kill him, talking on the phone while driving. And I, so angry, I wouldn't talk for months. My father has 4 bypasses. I visit in the hospital. There he is, lying on his back, eyes shut, mouth open, a frailer version of the man who always had to do everything himself, till fainting the week before. He's not the same, will never be again. Can't dress himself, walk 15 feet, needs help getting in and out of bed. He's changed, too, in how he is. For the first time, knows vitamins or quackeries, it'll happen to him, too. He's kinder now, remembering me young, how sweet I was at 3, at 4, at 5. New stories every day, repeated many times, as if some part did notice and forgot till now. I sit and watch this man, so different from before, and all my anger goes. Down the stairs. My father's going downstairs to bed, my mother helping. It looks like a disaster waiting to happen, tied together by a rope, running from waist to waist, like the invisible tether which has bound them for so long. Neither can remember a time before when they were free to fall on their own, not pull the other with them. She's done this since the time he took a tumble, and it was hours before she got him up. At each step, his foot searches the air for the one below. My mother above, waiting. After he stood, not moving for a while, reminding him, "You're going down the stairs, the right foot next." At the landing, there's a chair he sits on, shuts his eyes. She rouses him with, "Only 9 more to go," puts her arm under his, tries to lift him. For a moment, it's not clear if he will make it. "You have to help me here," she says. "I can't do this by myself." And when he stands, points him down the stairs, puts his hand on the railing, steps back till the rope is taut between them, and on they go. Love notes. She comes home from a morning out, finds on the kitchen counter a note in his shaky hand. "I love you." Her full name on the line below, and beneath that, taking up half the page, his name signed, first and last, as if he was 16, wanting to let the world know what he'd discovered and couldn't keep secret. She finds the same note all over the house, on the bathroom counter, the dining room table, one beside him in the study where he sits at the computer. She comes up behind him, puts her arms around his shoulders, slides her cheek next to his. "I love you too," saying his name first and last, and nuzzling his ear, smiles as she adds her own, the one her parents gave her and the one they've shared for all these years. He turns his head toward her. In his look, she sees he doesn't know what she's talking about. She picks the note up that sits beside him, kisses it, holds it in front for him to see. Still no response, his face as blank as the computer screen he's been staring at. Down the stairs, 3. It happens every night. My mother following my father down the stairs, not accepting help. I'd get used to it, she says. And then when you're not here, today too, tied together by a rope that runs from waist to waist. And when they reach the bottom, her reward, after she changes his diaper, cleans him up, puts on his pajamas, tucks him into bed, and he sleeps there 16 hours to do it again in the morning. Till the time his energy used up, he collapses, slides out of the chair, lies there on the landing, a turtle on its back. Nothing she does can make him move. She has to call 911, have the firemen, robust young men, carry him upstairs. After that, he doesn't seem to notice that where she leads him doesn't involve ropes. The invisible tether, as strong as ever, guiding him to a bed he won't get up from. My father had a rather quirky sense of humor, and even as he declined, it was still there, and I think that's partly what's going on in this one. At home, the fireman, standing on the landing in their home in Austin, Texas, towers over my father, looks down and asks, "Where are you, sir?" My father answers, "New York City," and laughs. The fireman repeats a little louder, "Do you know where you are, sir?" My father answers a little louder, "Yes, New York City," and laughs a little louder. My mother smiles at the fireman. He does this sometimes. Says to my father, "You know where you are, at home in Austin," while he keeps staring up past both and smiling, as if at a memory of him, a boy, lying on a sidewalk, looking up at the tall buildings of New York City. Visiting my father. I go into my father's room, lay my hand on his. "Hi, sweetie," he says, eyes shut, voice strong. It's a surprise, a green sprig in the desert. He hasn't spoken in days. "No," I say, thinking he means my mother. He never calls me that. "She's in the other room. This is your son." And though I stay there, hand on his, 20 minutes longer, he says nothing more, but goes on sleeping, or whatever it is he does, to pass his days. And then, the person who never opens his eyes, while I am standing there, holding his hand, opens them wide, looks right at me, as if he knows me, and is surprised or glad. "Remember me?" I say. "I'm your son," saying the nickname only he calls me. His mouth opens part way, as if he's going to speak, or smile, or both. Then nothing. It stays open, opens wider. His eyes close, his mouth follows, his breathing settles in. Later, he opens his eyes even wider and stares at me, says in answer to my question, "Yes, I'm warm enough. Don't squeeze my hand too tight." And then, with my hand still squeezing his, but not so tight, he brings his other over, fingers thin and bony, paws at the air with it until it finds what it is looking for and settles down on mine. Anniversary. She goes into the room, sits beside the bed, takes his hand. You know what today is? She asks the body that does not respond. Our anniversary. It's a big one, 70. She stops, remembering the year before, going out, he in his chair, complaining about the food. He couldn't have been too badly off. Lifting him into it, out of it. How hard that was. How much he had declined. No inkling then. She puts it out of mind. Some of them were difficult. You weren't always the easiest, but for better or for worse. And she thinks, but does not say. Squeeze once, if you can hear me. A second time, if you still love me. Too much to ask, not daring to hope or be disappointed. Better to live with memory, lapsing into silence, following her thoughts. And then, when lost in them, feeling pressure on her fingers, a second time as well. She squeezes back, once, twice, and waits. Nothing more. On his face, no change, eyes shut, as always. And as the day settles into night, longest of the year, she stays, hands joined with his, in silence, while the room gets dark so slowly, as if the light is being exhaled out, till all she sees, a shadow where the window is, outline of his body on the bed. The only sounds, their breathing, rising, falling, and so faint she almost cannot hear, but knows it still is there, the beating of their hearts. As I said, my father had a certificate from Juilliard. He played the piano from a young age. I was taught no music, and my mother actually was a music major too. And I think it was kind of to protect me and give me a childhood he never had, because when he was 7 and his brother was 5, they were in a competition in Carnegie Hall, but 5 and 7-year-olds don't say, Mom, I want to be in a competition in Carnegie Hall. They say, I want to go play. So he gave me the opportunity to do that. As an adult, I taught myself to play the piano. I had grown up hearing especially Bach and Beethoven, so it's really inside me. And those are the same pieces I play. It took a long time, but I play at a very different tempo than what you're supposed to play. I'm making different music out of the same notes. And as an example of how off it is, in this particular piece, I'm playing a piece that he knew pretty well. At this point, he's living in his study. It's right off what used to be a study. It's right off the music room. On the wall between the two is a program of him playing the same piece when he was 19. So he knew this piece very, very well. And to give an example, too, of how wrong it was, my playing was, when he played it the way you're supposed to play it, it takes 4.5 minutes. When I play it, it takes 23. And it's the same notes. I'm not adding any notes. I'm not subtracting any notes. And I'm not saying it's the right interpretation, but it's my interpretation. So that's what's going on here. My father humming, too. I'm at my father's piano, playing a piece he used to play, but not the way he played it. Not, he's sure, the way Herr Beethoven intended. He's hearing it, not sleeping as he often is, and he's not happy with it. Before, he would have yelled out, "Stop!" or booed or yowled, "You're trying to kill me!" He's not saying much these days. Before I've played 5 notes, he's choking, loud and drastic. Stop now, I think. Call 911. Then rush up. See what I can do. The caretaker is there. She's raised the bed. He's sitting upright. Nothing else to do. Let him work it through. I keep playing. The choking gets louder, more alarming. A rattle in the throat, as if this is the end. My stomach tightens, but I don't stop. And this goes on a while. Duet for a son playing on his father's piano, while his father gasps his last. But then the choking lets up, changes to a cough, more like the clearing of a throat, and stops. He's still, and I'm still playing. I take a breath, relax. As I go on, I hear, so faint at first, I'm not sure what I'm hearing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He's humming, tunelessly, along with me, the way he used to when he was playing. It gets stronger, surer. There's no mistaking it. And we go on like this, the two of us, making music until the piece is done. My father humming 3. The gift my father gave. Music known in utero, not heard, but felt, before the ears were formed. Movement of the fluid that's in us and surrounds us, comforts us and calms us. That place we do not want to leave, that's mother, father, all. The slow and quiet way I play, the edge between stillness and vibration, the ripple of the liquid that is our home before we see the light. Now, so close to letting go of body, bone, and breath, and going back to what was there before, as if reminded of a tune so far away he half remembers. He hears it in my playing. It echoes through his being, and he begins to hum. Leave taking. You've buried both your parents. Your mother like this, slowly in a home. Brother, younger than you, choosing to starve. So many dear close friends. You've loved to have him for so long, but you have said goodbye to the person he once was, the one you shared so much with. By now, words gone, laughter, memory, as far as you can tell. Unless, like a bird trapped in a house, he's in there still, wings banging against the panes. Open all the doors, the windows, leave them wide. He goes on flapping, trying to get out. And these last few are from the final section. My father's voice. At the memorial service, they played a recording of my father playing the Capriccio of Bach's Second Partita, and I was fine with that. But when they played the Elements song, and I heard his voice, strong and sure, the way I knew it all my life, not the feeble tentative of the last few years, that was harder, as if he hadn't decayed, deteriorated, or died, but still alive. There he was, in that box there. I heard him, same as ever. You just have to know what button to push, and he comes back to life. Memorial service. At the memorial service, it's my father they're talking about. His name that's said over and over. But it's me I'm hearing, as if I'm the one being buried here. No one else left between me and the void. I'm next. There's no escaping it. And after I have spoken, and it is done, it's my 2 sons who come up to me, and without a word, first one and then the other, hug and hug, until I know, they know, about the death of fathers, mine and theirs, their children's too, saying to me now what they won't be able to when our turns come. Final instructions. When I die, don't bury me, but burn me down till all that's left is dust. Set aside a handful to mix with yours when you have moved on too. And of the rest, take me to the water where I have played and splashed and laughed. Go out on it till all you see is blue and green. Commend me to the wind, which holds the spirit. And as you feel it touch your face, toss this little that remains gently up into it, to carry where it will, and be content, knowing I'm at peace. The last one is called Endnotes. I sit down at my father's piano. The first slow notes of Beethoven's Moonlight echo in the room till the air's alive with them, striking to the bottom of the heart and lower, down to the core. Here, in this room, through these keys, these notes, these fingers, in this heart, what he gave me years ago, I now give back to him. And if I listen as I play, I still can hear his spirit humming loud and clear. Thank you.
Jonathan, thank you for that enormously beautiful and moving reading, and for the images of reconciliation and love that are most powerful in it. I'm thinking of the images of your mother and father going downstairs, tethered together, of your father's hand unresponsive before suddenly becoming responsive and closing on yours. I'm thinking of his hand again squeezing twice on your mother's to indicate love. And perhaps most powerfully of all, I'm thinking of his humming along with your playing of Beethoven in the way he would never have played it, was gagging to hear and then suddenly accepting and humming along with you. Just as in the end, as you played the Moonlight Sonata, he began in your memory to hum along with you. These are enormously powerful images of love. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
And thanks to Ken Picard and Karen Handville, who make this program possible. If you would like to learn more about Jonathan Gillman's work and read samples from his book, please visit the Antrim House website, antrimhousebooks.com. You may be interested in other Antrim House poets whose lives and works are described on the website as well. Goodbye until we meet again for the 31st installment of Speaking of Poetry.